Here we go now with the news review. It's brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. I'll be telling you a bit more about them at the end of this review. But joining us, energy analyst Kwadwo Poku. He is our guest this morning. He'll be joining us shortly as we get into the review. Mr. Poku, a very good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining the conversation. Hello, Kwadwo Poku. Well, let me tell you a bit about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic then. We're offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening. That's good news. We all can get checked for free. Locate us in Accra Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronoma Boyhia behind the Angel Educational Complex. We're also in Takrade, Anaji Estate to be specific, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa and Esiama Nzima. I'm sure you'd like to reach us to book an appointment. So call us on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But only the start of the newspaper review. We'll be joined by Kwadwo Poku shortly, but we have a stack of papers this morning, starting with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Promoting responsible mining, gold catcher, and the president has been speaking about them, to reach 120,000 miners this year. And they're all about mercury-free rock processing equipment. I'll be giving you the scoop on that story. There's also Graphic Business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting, experts to discuss post-DDEP and how to regain trust. You saw my colleague Isaac Kofi J, dissecting that issue earlier on the show. There's also towards election 2024, don't scrap guarantor system. Afarijan advises Electoral Commission. You do recall that the minority in Parliament had said, and some other groups, in fact, I think the CDD to be specific, I believe, had said, it used to be 5, don't scrap it, bring it down to 3. And that should be the baseline to ensure that no one is left out. And that is, those are some of the calls. Now we have former head or former chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Afarijan, also wading into that conversation. ISD launches website to deal with misinformation. Kwadwo Nkrumah pictured there, Minister of Information. But, I have to say this lest I forget. When I heard of this initiative, I thought, Kwadwo, wonderful initiative. Misinformation or disinformation, whichever way, they ought not to be part of our social construct, definitely not part of our governance system. But then I ask you, how about the misinformation peddled, in respect of the Ankobra River? When Mrekuduka went out and said, and we've had countless occasions where people in government have misinformed us. How about that? How are you going to deal with that? That's an interesting picture. Kwadwo, over to you. But let's get into the stories now. And the former chairman of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Kwadwo Afarijan, has criticized the commission for its move to discard the guarantor system for the continuous voter registration exercise. In a statement made exclusively to the Daily Graphic, he said, the contention of the EC that the guarantor system was not robust and therefore the Ghana card should be the sole means of registration was untenable. According to Dr. Afarijan, as far as the National Identification Authority allowed the guarantor regime in the registration for the Ghana card, nothing prevented the EC from doing same for the voter registration exercise and making that system more robust as it wanted. It goes on to say, what prevents the commission, and quoting him here, what prevents the commission from instituting in the upcoming constitutional instrument, that is the CI, a guarantor regime as robust as, or even more robust than, the one being used by the NIA for doing the Ghana card, he queried. Again, he made mention of the fact, in line with Article 11.7 of the 1992 Constitution, the EC is seeking to lay a CI before Parliament to regulate the continuous voter registration exercise. Per the article, the CI, which seeks, among other things, to make the Ghana card the sole identification document for the exercise and the only means for registration, when laid in Parliament, will come into force after 21 sitting days, except the House annuls it by a vote of not less than 2/3 of all members of Parliament. And we all know that last month, chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Gina Adukwe Mensah, told Parliament as part of the pre-laying of the CI that the Ghana card as the sole registration document would ensure that only eligible Ghanaians registered as voters. But Dr. Afarijan disagrees. In fact, he says, truth be told, the guarantor system was not the best under any circumstances, but we did not have other options. In my view, as of now, it cannot be reasonably assumed that every Ghanaian of voting age has the Ghana card or can get one well ahead of the next elections. So it appears when it comes to this electoral system and the guarantor system and the Ghana card, of which we do not have all the certainties, all the assurances on the back of the debt owed by the National Identification Authority, we're caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. Where will we fall? And will we be able to execute, deliver in 2024? Do you know why I'm posing that question? Nigeria's INEC gave guarantee upon guarantee and said that we have done this. They had the BVAR and everything. And for once, they said it was going to go without a hitch seamlessly. What did we see? Elections started many hours after when it should have started in some places. The boss of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi, had to vote some 3-4 hours after, the time when she had got to the station, after the time for the start of voting. And there were so many complications. Peter Obi is taking the matter to the Supreme Court. Are we going to create a problem, a situation where we end up at the apex court once more? Kwadwo Poku, energy analyst, joins the conversation. Kwadwo, welcome aboard.
Good morning, Ben. How are you?
I'm very well. How about you?
I'm very well. I could be better, but hey, it's a Tuesday morning. I'm with Ben, so how can I complain?
I love your bow tie.
Thank you. I have many of them. I mean, I'm trying to do a different one every show for you, just for you.
I've noticed that you have quite a number, and it's refreshing to have someone in a bow tie rather than an ordinary, tie all the time. Yeah. But what do you make of Afarijan and what he's saying? He says, don't scrap guarantor system. He is giving that advice to the Electoral Commission. I think it's the CDD some weeks back that made mention of the fact that don't scrap it. You can pull down from 5 to 3, but maintain it because it is essential. In fact, he says, in my view, as of now, it cannot be reasonably assumed that every Ghanaian of voting age has the Ghana card or can get one well ahead of the next elections. He makes a number of, pronouncements on this. But for you, I know it's a matter we've discussed before. Has your position changed any?
No, not at all. I'm just thinking that we like to beat the problem, not solve the problem, and then basically use something else as a panera. Look, the problem that we have as a nation is NIA. We were told in 2017 that in less than 1 year, everybody will get an identification card, right? 2017 till now, NIA has not been able to register everybody and giving everybody a voter's ID card. That is the problem. Now, as a result of that problem, let's not replicate the problem in other areas that we want it to be sacrosanct. Our voters register is supposed to be sacrosanct. Now, people are saying that the guarantor system is being scrapped. It's not being scrapped. If you want an NIA, a national identification card, right? If you want the Ghana card, you are allowed to take 2 relatives or 2 people who know you to go to Commissioner of Oath and get a Ghana card. The only thing that the CI is saying is that we are no longer going to allow that to be used for the voter ID card. So it's a 2-stage system. Everybody in Ghana today is required to have a Ghana card. That system is not working because the authority that we've given that responsibility to is not doing their work well. Let's fix that problem. Let's put all the energy to fix that problem. Then we leave the EC alone to do what they have to do. So the issue of saying that you want people to troop to polling stations and then bring 2 people with them, who are we talking about? We are talking about people who are now attaining the age of 18 or people who have never registered, okay, and want to register. Now, Ben, we live in Ghana. Today, are you telling me that there is that many people out there that don't have any form of ID as Ghanaians? Let's ask ourselves, look, in 92, this conversation was different, right? Even in 2000, this conversation was different. But 20 years from 2000 into 2023, when the people attaining voters' age are more savvy, yes, in the rural areas, it could be a problem. But the point is, let's not always use the rural area as an excuse for people in urban areas to do their dodgy things. Politicians, whenever they find themselves on the other side of the aisle, will say something else. I'm very sad that Afarijan came in and made that statement. Do you remember when His Excellency John Ajikun Kufuor introduced the 4-year SHS? And everybody in Ghana agrees that the 3-year SHS is not enough. When His Excellency Atamils came into power, they were able to find a group of so-called educationists to go into a conference and say that 3-year SHS is better than 4-year SHS. Today, what is the result that we are seeing? So please, these retirees, let's leave them out of our business, because trust me, they don't offer us anything better. Because today, we had a bunch of retirees who came and told us that 3 years HHS is better, and we all know that was not true. 4 years SHS is better. So how is Afarijan coming to tell us that we should leave the voter system when he admits that it's not the best? In 2092, yes, sorry, in 1992.
But Kwadwo Poku, so clarify some things for me. One, you say that the NIA is the problem. Just expatiate on that for me. Explain further. And then you say
but
retirees. No, hold on. You also say, so you say the NIA is the problem. Then you say retirees like Afarijan, Dr. Afarijan, are the problem. But he's merely saying that, look, truth be told, the guarantor system was not the best under any circumstances, but we did not have other options. We still don't have other options. So you would have to, make way for others, make room for others.
No, we do have other options. What options don't we have? We have option of you going to the NIA to use the guarantor system there.
No, the point being made is, so you don't want it to be for the voter's ID card, which is what is going to be used to vote anyway, not the Ghana card, the voter's ID card. But you want the guarantor system. You want the guarantor system to rather be for the NIA card, which people have.
What the law says.
Yes,
which is what the law says.
But that is no different from what he's saying.
As a Ghanaian, Ben, hold on. As a Ghanaian, you are allowed to have an identification. If you do not have any form prescribed by law to get a Ghana card, somebody can guarantee for you to get one. So we are not being denied a Ghana card. So that is a guarantor system that we have. But we cannot replicate that with the EC system, which is a voter ID card. Look, in most countries, there's a point system, okay, where you need certain IDs to qualify for something. I'll give a particular example. In the US today, to get a driver's license, you need an ID from your residence, you need a national ID, and that gives you a certain number of points. And I think you need a state ID in some states as well. So you cannot go and argue that I'm a citizen, I'm entitled to a driving license, but let me have a guarantor system. No, the law says that you need to have certain documentation. So you are not being denied a Ghana card. If everybody was being denied a Ghana card, that is a conversation, because that is a national identification. A voter's ID is a second level. So you need to have the first level, which you can use the guarantor for. So nobody's stopping the guarantor system, just that you need to go under a commissioner, in front of a commissioner of oaths, and use the guarantor system to get a national ID card. So if the NIA is the problem, let's channel the resources, let the MPs, everybody put pressure on NIA to resolve that problem. We cannot, if we want to do the digitization that we want to do, we cannot going forward and going backwards and saying that, oh, we should go back and go back. No, how do we move forward if we are always looking at, oh, if?
Right.
We can move on if we do that.
Let's get into some other stories. And I did promise to go to page 16 and bring some details on that story. So let me quickly do that. And in fact, I'm going to take the rest of the stories from the Daily Graphic so you react to them, Kojo. There's this one. The move by the government to promote responsible and sustainable small-scale mining through the use of modern technology is making a positive impact. The intervention has compelled more than 30,000 small-scale miners to switch from the crude practice of using mercury and other toxic chemicals to extract gold to the use of mercury-free mining machines. This follows the distribution of 60 mercury-free machines known as Gold Catcher to the miners under the community mining scheme. And Catcher is K-A-C-H-A, not like catcher. And the number of beneficiaries is expected to reach 120,000 by the end of the year. This is part of, the schemes to control, mining and ensure that it is safe, especially for those who engage in it. Tied to that, there is that story, I'll not get into it, but the ISD, the Information Services Department, launches website to deal with misinformation. And I was posing the question earlier, Kwadwo, that if the sector minister, my own senior brother, my good friend, Kwadwo Nkrumah, wants to do this fair and square, misinformation, disinformation, we've seen how it has played out in the US, we've seen how it has played out in the Russo-Ukrainian war. It doesn't help anybody. But where do we start? How about those in government who engage in open misinformation? The latest I heard was George Merkuduka, Member of Parliament for Takwanswayem, also a Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, talking about the Ankobra and how clean it was and all of that. We went there and, as we say, Sitewa. So what is your reaction to these two stories? Very quickly, so we take another two.
Well, I think the misinformation that the ISD website is to do is not what you're talking about, misinformation. When a politician says something which is not what it is, okay? That is not what I don't think the website is to check.
Misinformation, Kwadwo, is misinformation. I am addressing it broadly from the standpoint of how about government officials who intentionally, do you remember when the e-levy was going on? I've forgotten the Member of Parliament, somewhere in the Ashanti region, when telling market women that, hey, or even those in the minority are in support, it is only this and that. How, if we're going to tackle these, how do we deal with people in establishment who do such acts?
What the website is to check is fake news. There's a difference between misinformation in a political arena and fake news. Two different things.
I see.
No, two different things. Politics is politics. It's propaganda. We had a time when people are propaganda secretaries. So you cannot really now go in and say that politicians will not always do politics. That's what they do. Politics.
So you're basically suggesting that the ordinary citizen can be held to certain benchmarks that the person in government who is supposed to have higher responsibility cannot be held to.
No, what I prescribe is a law that punishes people that gives out fake news and misinformation. That is what we should have. Website, what is website going to do? That's the point I was going to get to. Having a website to check fake news is one thing, because what you're going to do from that website is just put the facts so people can go there and check the facts if whether it's true or not. That is good enough. But people who propagate fake news and misinformation should be held accountable. And it's the only way that you now move ahead. So holding people accountable, whether politician or ordinary person, is the way forward. It's not necessary that everybody can go out there and give misinformation. But what I'm trying to establish is that there's a difference between misinformation and fake news. There are two different things. Now, on the issue of the mercury, now, you know what? It's the time that we've moved on into the new era. There's new technologies. It's better that we introduce these technologies into our mining so that people doing small-scale mining will be able to use healthy, environmental-friendly chemicals in mining. We've moved on far from the era of mercury. Mercury today is such a toxic chemical that nobody should be using mercury. So it's a good thing that the Ministry, our Minerals Commission and the Ministry of Mines and Natural Resources are doing something about that. So I think it's welcoming news.
Just to give a little bit of scoop for those who might want to check out the details, the website www.ghanatoday.gov.gh, you can go there and check it out, will provide reliable information from ministries, departments, metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies, as well as governments, programs and projects, among other information relating to the state. And those are some of the stories there. Let's quickly look at a few more. Dr. Akoto outlines plans to transform country. And yesterday, we had that event at the UPSA, which we brought to you. The immediate past Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Uswe Akoto, has outlined 7 interventions the country must undertake to accelerate the total transformation of the country, describing them as the new paradigm shift and critical factors. He said the interventions included political will, a change in governance structure, research and development, strengthening of inputs and market systems, and human resource development. He also said a well-funded and competitive private sector can manage and allocate skills and capital to scale up agro-processing and value addition and drive long-term sustainable agri-business growth for job creation. I'm bringing this up for a good reason. He wants to be flag bearer of your party. You also want to be flag bearer of your party. I've heard Dr. Akoto say some very interesting things about agriculture, especially as a former minister, and how tree crops and others can be our breadbasket. In fact, get us some over $12 billion and all of that. He speaks glowingly about agriculture, but he was there and some would say funding the tree crops, for example. He said, no, he makes mention of the fact, for example, that when that authority, I beg your pardon, was set up, the allocations to them, it was supposed to be $5 million per year. They got $1 million over 3 years. It's kind of like the issue with the vaccines. If you're not getting the money, how do you procure them? So he has this glowing thinking that agriculture can be the salvation of the country. And I actually agree with him. But the question is execution. What do you think, as someone who also wants to be president? What do you think? How far can we go with agric?
Let me say this. Dr. Akoto is not any ordinary person. He is a very good confidant of the president. If the two of them are childhood friends, the two of them have been knowing each other for a very long time. In fact, he's the most closest person in cabinet to the president than any other person I know. Because in numerous times, if you are somebody who sees the two of them, he's the only one that rides in the same car with the president. Okay? So that said, if you were a minister of agric and you feel that the social part of government injecting money in agric was not forthcoming, what happened to private sector-led initiatives? He claimed that he's a farmer himself and one of the biggest farmers in Ghana. How did he do it? Was he not a private man who went into business and did agric as a business? How did he not explore the deficit of funding through PPP, private partnership with private sector? Okay, so the point is this. You see, people think that ministers, you are a minister because, and a cabinet minister because the president cannot have all 18 hands. He gives you the mandate to go and do and report. If you have a proposal, you bring it and he approves it. The question I wanted Evans to ask him yesterday was that what proposal did he take to cabinet that was not approved? Forget the money side, okay? Because we all know that financing is scarce. We all know that there's no money. And today, if he becomes president or I become president, we are still faced with the challenge of no money,
right?
Okay? So if you are looking to lead, and the leadership that he's looking to do, and the minister, there isn't much of a difference. Because, yes, as a leader, you have the opportunity to oversee all. But as a great minister, you have opportunity to oversee that department that he's saying that he can make better. So what was the private sector-led initiative that he brought into bear in the last 6 years?
Right.
Zero. Zero. The only thing that he talks of is that a fertilizer. My brother, private sectors will have to buy their own fertilizer. This thing where we are pumping government money into subsidizing fertilizer and using it for all sorts of things, for me, should stop. Government cannot afford to be supplying fertilizer. It should be a private sector-led industry. So where, for me, in my judgment of what he said, he failed is that he is still in the delusion that agric should be funded by government, which is wrong.
Right.
Agric should be funded by government. Agric should be funded by private sector. In all industrialized nations, agric is a private sector-led industry.
I agree with you on that last point to a large extent. Because I've been to many countries and that is exactly what pertains. And these are big time farmers. You can go for hundreds, thousands of hectares and you see just one person's farm. And they are the ones who hold sway.
You don't have to go far. Go to Ivory Coast. Go to Ivory Coast. You don't have to go far. Just cross the border to Ivory Coast and you see the kind of private-led agric hectares and hectares of farms that private sector has.
Well, the question is whether we can execute that here. Just to wrap on that, is that something you would want to do, given the opportunity, given the nod to be president? 100%. Is that something you would do? How would you do it?
100%. I have put it out there.
Very quickly, I want us to get into other stories. How would you do it?
Yes, 100%. Those are things that I've put out there about PPP in agric. Look, we've been using these slogans in agric for too many times. We need to bring in the private sector. Today, everybody talks of Ukraine. Ukraine is not a government farming in Ukraine. It is the Europeans who find out that the European soil was fertile and the Europeans now moved in and farmed. I have had friends from Israel who came into Ghana and told me about their stories of how frustrated they were when they tried to get land to do mass-scale farming in Ghana.
Right.
Try to go out there and get land to do any farming. And you see the frustration you go through.
So accessibility, giving access so that investors can come in. But how are you going to boost local production? Because we keep saying that already our economy is owned so much by foreigners. How are you going to empower ordinary Ghanaians to take up?
When it comes to agriculture, you don't need this bit of local. Look, if a foreigner comes in and he's got money to do, he is going to employ Ghanaians. He's going to employ. Look, it's the employment and the effect of the investment that we need. The fact that we always want to now get Ghanaians into it. There are Ghanaians who have money. The last time I told you on this program, they are buying toys they can't even use. I told you.
Right. Let's quickly get into other stories. The Ghanaian Times basically reiterates stories that we've already done. The ISD launch, 6 suspects remanded. This is a story we saw yesterday. Education Minister threatens to close down non-performing schools. I think he made mention of those scoring from 0 to 10% pass rates, and that if they don't up their game, they would be shut down. We'll use our grade to attain first-class economy if, that's according to Dr. Efriye Akoto. He also says in the Finder newspaper, with right investment in agric, Ghana will not need the IMF. And I've heard him say that. Gamanche prays for Alan's victory in upcoming NPP flag bearership race. Dr. Dufour promises to revive tour when elected president. And there's also the ISD situation. But very quickly to the Gamanche issue, praying for Alan's victory. We've had this dichotomy when it comes to chieftaincy and politics and crossing the now blurry lines. What do you make of it? Because from time to time, you see someone go here and that person is hailed, even given the nod, the blessing of a chief. What do you make of it?
Well, chiefs are individual people. They just occupy a high position in our society. So they are allowed to basically have a preference. I don't begrudge any chief that have a preference with who he thinks should be a flag bearer. The only thing is that the people should just take that pronouncement with a pinch of salt. It's an individual pronouncement. It doesn't mean that because the Gamanche have said it, all Ghans should vote for that person. Gamanche is only expressing an individual personal opinion. So for me, when I hear these things, I just basically said, okay, fine. I mean, he likes him, why not? Maybe somebody too in the voter region will see Kwadwo Poku and like him. It doesn't mean that the people in the voter region should vote for Kwadwo Poku. So for me, you can't stop chiefs from doing what they do, which is having an opinion.
All right. Just to wrap it with the next headlines, the Daily Guide, a Shaiman soldier killed over 300 Ghana cedi iPhone 6. I think that's the major story there. It's the banner headline. Then the Graphic Business, T-bills interest rate reduction, no easy way out. Medium to long-term risk persists. And I have heard Financial Watcher analyst as well, Joe Jackson of Dalex Finance, talk about those issues. Experts discuss post-DDEP and how to regain trust. That is the Graphic Business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting. And lending rates to decline significantly, and Ghana's purchasing index records marginal growth. That's the Economy Times. You can pick any few thoughts to share with us as we wrap the conversation.
I'll go with the Ashaman issue. I think for me, when I heard the killing of the soldier, my heart goes out to the family. May his soul rest in peace. We've gotten to the point where some Ghanaians are just basically have no fear and they are reckless. And some people are saying that what the military did is over the board. Yes, maybe they must have gone a bit over the board. But every now and then, I think we should let some people be taught a little bit of a lesson. We can have areas.
So do you approve? Do you approve of what the military did then?
I would not say I approve, but I just said that there are times when some people need to be taught a bit of a lesson.
But if you say that, then you're basically saying at some point,
well, I don't know exactly.
This must be done.
I wasn't there and saw exactly what they did, so I can't say I approve. That means I'm approving everything in total. All I'm saying is that some people in Ghana at certain times should be taught a lesson, so that people have a fear. Gone are the days when you see a military man or a man in uniform, you will not dare touch that person. For a group of people to feel that it's okay to have somebody in uniform and kill that person. Do you remember when a policeman was killed during Rawlins's time in...
Yeah, I remember. I remember the person. Was it Ninja? Was it Ninja?
Sorry?
Is it Ninja you're referring to?
Ninja, yes. Was killed by the Langards.
Yeah.
You remember we had a 6 March...
I think he was buried under concrete. Kweku Ninja. He was buried under concrete and all of that. They found him.
You saw what happened in that. You saw what happened in that area after. right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it. So my point is that when people do certain acts,
All right.
they have gone out of the realm of normality. So when those things are done, I think that every action deserves a reaction. That's all I will say on that. On the T-bills.
Okay, I thought we were going, but you go ahead. Some 20 seconds.
No, on the T-bills, on the T-bills, look, Ghanaians are still pumping over 6 billion into T-bills, okay? And people say that there's no money in the economy. Ghanaians have a habit of putting their money, saving them, and not working with them, which is sad. And that is something that I want to change. I want to have an environment where Ghanaians are passionate and confident that they can invest their money in industry, in agriculture, in other areas. Why are we so bent on putting our money in savings and not use the money to work?
Interesting point. And that's a conversation we should have someday, Kwadwo, because I agree with you. You go and dump it somewhere. How about you invest that in the economy? You start up a business. You do something that will have a continuous effect of creating money and creating jobs. I agree with you. Thank you.
A private man, Ben, a private man will have 2 billion Ghana cedis, go and put it in T-bills, call a politician to find job for his son.
Yeah.
What job?
That's crazy, isn't it?
You use that 2 billion to start a business, to start an industry, to start a factory. Then employ your son and his friends.
Kwadwo Poku, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Always good having you.
You didn't ask me about my campaign this morning.
If we go there, Kwadwo, we're already out of time. Let's do that next time. But thank you so much for joining the conversation. Next time, be sure to remind me so we do it early. Kwadwo Poku is an energy analyst, and he joined us for this conversation. Right before we go, of course, this segment is brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. We're offering free prostate screening, free female fertility screening as well. And you can locate us all over Ghana. Spintex in Accra, opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi Kronuma here, behind the Angel Educational Complex. We're in Anaji Estate in Takrade, Tema Community 22. Is Siama and Zema and Techiman Hansua. Reach us on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. It's the start of sports coming your way up next.